So let's get that going here. You click Layer Properties right there, and that's in the Layers menu. It's kind of right in the middle here, this Layers menu. And you click this Layer Properties button. And maybe I can pull this out. There it is. This little icon right there, I'm hovering over it now. It says New Layer. That little button makes new layers, and we need to make 3 of them. So I'm going to click on that button to make the first one, and it creates a new layer, and it prompts you to name it right away. So this very first one I'm going to call Construction. Construction lines. And then I'm going to skip over this stuff here, but I'm going to go to Color, and I'm going to pick the color for it, and you can use any colors you want. The line type is continuous, which just means like a solid line, and that default is what we want. And then the line weight is going to be 0.15. So those are the 3 characteristics of this layer. It's pink, it's got the continuous line type, and the line weight is 0.15. So I'm going to get out of this right now just to show you what we've done so far. I'm going to hit the X button. And going up to the Layers menu now, if you see at the very top of it, there's this little arrow drop down. And now you can choose the layer you made. You don't have to go with this 0 default thing. I can choose this construction layer that I made, and now anything that I draw on it is going to have those properties. And you can go back and forth. I could go back to the other layer, that 0 layer, if I wanted. But the truth is, you should never really draw anything of importance on that 0 layer. It's not meant to be drawn on. So there you go. That's what layers are. So let's finish making them. I'm going to click that Layers Property button again, and click the New Layer button again. And this one I'm going to call Object. And I'm going to make the object lines blue. And the line weight, I'm going to make pretty heavy. So those are going to be my thickest lines. I'm going to make that 53. And again, if I get out of this, now I will have that at my disposal. I can choose those lines and draw with them. Now you might be wondering, what's the deal with the line weight? You see, you made that one really heavy. Why isn't it showing up heavy? And it's because we have not turned our line weight on yet. Remember, the visibility has to be turned on. So that is not a default. And to do that, you simply type LW for line weight. So if you do that LW, enter, it brings up this line weight settings menu. And right in the middle, you can just click display line weight. We want to see it. It's strange that it doesn't default to on, but it doesn't. So you have to turn it on. And now you can see the line weight is quite visible, and we can compare the two. I go to the construction lines, and you can see that, yeah, there is a big difference between these, because the construction is at 0.15 and the object is at 0.53, so quite a bit heavier. The last layer I want to make is the hidden line layer. So I'm going to go back to the Layer Properties menu, click the New Layer button again, and this one I'm going to name Hidden, H-I-D-D-E-N. Give it a different color, and give it a different line weight. So that one I asked you to do 35. Now here's where it's really different. The line type for the hidden line is not continuous, it's dashed. It has dashes. It's actually, the line type is hidden. So that's what we need to load up, the hidden line type. And when I say load up, I mean literally you hit the load button right there. So I'm going to click on that and drop down. And I happen to know, they're in alphabetical order, that it's about 2/3 of the way down here. There it is. Click on hidden, hit OK. Now the hidden line type is available. Again, that's found in this load menu. So with it being available, you can now actually select it. And so that's the other thing you have to do. It's not enough to just put it on this, to load it up. You actually have to click on it and then hit OK. And now you can see that my hidden layer has a hidden line type. And that's it. Those are the 3 layers we're going to make today. And let's see if that one's working. It is. It needs a little adjusting. The dashes, as you can see, are a little close together. They need to be made bigger. So here's another command that isn't so easy to find, and I definitely want to write this down. And it's line type scale, LTS. So our line type is the dashed line, right, the hidden line. But we want to change the scale. We want to make the dashes bigger. And if you're doing a tiny drawing, you want to make them smaller. So it really depends on the size of your drawing to get the right look. But if we stay at this zoom level of zoom right now, then we definitely want to make them bigger. So I'm going to type those initials, LTS for line type scale, enter, and it prompts you to change the value. So you can see the value down here is 1. That's the default, and I'm going to change it to 2. And there, now those dashes are a lot more visible. And you can see if I change it to something bigger, let's say 5, they get much larger, right? Nah, that's way too big. So I think for this level of zoom, this size that we're working with, that's about right. So again, that was LTS, enter, and then the value is 2. So what have we done so far? We've gotten our layers created, we've gone to layer properties, and we've gotten our 3 layers made. We've turned on line weight by typing LW enter and checking the little box in the middle for display line weight. That one right there. We've typed LTS enter, and we've changed the value from 1 to 2. So that's what we've done so far. And there's one more little bit of setup that we need to do. And that is to change the snap. So right now the snap is snapping from endpoint to endpoint. You can see how it grabs the endpoints of lines very well. And that is really useful. But for these drawings, I want to be able to use the grid. This grid that's behind us, that is going to be much more useful for today's work. So to turn off the endpoint snap, which is really called object snap, it's snapping to the objects themselves. To turn that off, I just click on this little button right here. It's object snap. And you can see if you want to use a keystroke, it's F3, the F3 button. So I'm clicking it off. Now when I go to draw, it does not snap to endpoints. I can get as close as I want and it will not snap to anything. It's not snapping to anything at all. But what I wanted to do is snap to the grid. So to do that, I come over here to the end, and you can see this little grid pattern here. That turns the grid on and off. And then right next to it, it turns the snap to the grid on and off. So if I turn that on, then I should be able to snap very nicely to each individual little square on that grid, and it's working really well. So that's the deal. All right, so we turned off that snap, which was the object snap, and we turned on this snap right here, which is this grid snap. Okay, so you're basically just switching them out. And now we are totally ready to do this drawing. Everything is prepared. I'm ready to go. Before I start, I'm going to save. I like to save my work frequently, and I don't want to lose what I've done so far. I've put a lot of effort into this, and if the computer froze up for some reason, I would be pretty unhappy that I lost this work. So before I do anything else, I'm going to save. And the first save is Save As. You got to go File, Save As, and you choose Drawing, and you just save it somewhere. I'm going to say Desktop, and this is assignment 4A. Okay. And from here on out, if I want to save, it's just save, which the keystroke for is Control S. So that's very useful. And I do that all the time. Like, you know, roughly every 5 minutes, I just type Control S. And that way, if a computer ever crashes, I only lose the last 5 minutes of my work. Trust me, I've learned that the hard way. And I've seen many a student over the years lose a whole period's worth of work, you know, a whole hour. And that really sucks. So saving frequently is a good idea because computers lock up all the time. Okay, well, let's get this thing going. I'm going to start out with my object layer. So I'm choosing the object layer, and I'm going to begin this assignment with that. And I'm just going to go to line, and I'm going to kind of randomly pick a point here to start drawing this thing. And the size is random as well. So yeah, that, what do you think? Yeah, maybe like that. And enter to get out, enter to get back in. Again, we're just kind of estimating the sizes. So that looks pretty good. I'd say that's the front view. Now to do the other views, I'm going to take advantage of these construction lines. I want, you really probably don't need it for this one, but it's a good idea to get in the habit of it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, you saw me change layers to construction, and I'm just going to click at these important points and drag out just whatever, fair distance here. And that way I will know where these lines are. And I'm going to do the same with the top. Again, these were obviously very easy and probably wasn't necessary for this drawing, but this is how drawings should be done in the future. So now I'm going to change layers back to my object layer and do the top view. All right, I think that's it. It's pretty good. And now for the right side view. Before I do the right side view, I want to project anything I have up here down into there. So I'm going to make that famous 45-degree line, that transfer line, and that's easy to make. You just go from corner to corner of the squares, right through the corners of the squares. And now I'm going to get my construction lines and just bring it across and down, across and down, and across and down. So now I have this really nice grid here. It's practically drawn for me. Switch to my object layer, L, enter, and finish this guy off. All right, there's one more line to put in, and that is to show where the bottom of this notch is. So in the side view, I would need to see that with a hidden line. So I'm going to change to my hidden line layer and draw that. And there it is. It's done. Now you might want to get rid of these little bits of construction line hanging off. So just hit my trim button, TR enter, and drag through that stuff. Just get rid of it. That looks nice. And there you go. So what do you think? Any questions?